Tottenham, Shelfside, Spurs, evening walk. So welcome everybody. For those of you who are already with us, hello and welcome. For those of you who are back on the channel, welcome back. If you can click on the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would help the algorithm. I've got Pugsy with me. How you doing, Pugsy? Yeah, I'm good. Good. Pugsy, go for a walk. There we go, people. And as always, bye-bye.
I want £100,000 and a helicopter and 100 grand all in used notes, or the Pepper Army gets it, right? Oh, hi. I was just holding my sausage hostage. How you doing? Welcome everyone to Shelfside Spurs show. It is a show and it's by Shelfsiders such as ourselves, even though neither of us is actually in the Shelfside right now, are we? No.
Right now? No, I mean,
right now.
Right now, no. I mean, my mum's back. I'm back to being in the basement tonight. So.
Oh, okay. That's good. That is helpful to do. We've got people waiting in the wings. You know, looking to come in.
We've also got confirmation of the guest is running late. And no, it's not Danny Kiriakou, because he's definitely 7 minutes late. He's going to be Danny is not even coming tonight. You know, that's how late Danny is. He's not even coming. You know. So anyway, he might be coming. He might be in the chat at some point. Danny, if you're in the chat right now, let us know that you're safe, please. Anyway. Shall we bring on now? Well, I mean, I was going to say, before we start, Nick, how are you, sir? I'm sorry, I'm just getting back into my character. Obviously, apologies to anyone that had earphones in, because obviously your earphones would have literally killed your ears. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that intro. We had
anyone who had earphones in will no longer be able to hear you, so there's no point apologizing to them.
I'll just go, thank you, lots of love.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, so obviously a new week, new intro to interject, let's just say, into the Shelfside Spurs. We've had Will Stewart, we've had Iggy, and obviously today was Sean Butler's turn. So all of you people out there that have intros, just be
You're not safe.
You're not safe. No.
Yeah.
We will recreate them. We will recreate them, and we will we will have our own little twist on them, let's just say.
Well, that's it. I mean, ultimately, you know, people do need to realize that the Knights of the Shelfside are onto you, you know?
And all I'm going to say is, Rez,
yeah,
you don't know. You just need to get to know.
I think that's fair. You know,
and let's get to know. Let's get to know who's in the back room, shall we?
Well, I was going to say, this is the thing. I was going to say we would bring on our average-looking guest, but this gentleman is far from average. You know, it's sort of like if there's one Spurs streamer who really isn't average at all and is basically a little bit of a sex pot, it would have to be this guy. Yeah. You know. And so I can't say we'll bring on our average-looking guest. Our actual average-looking guest is running late.
Yeah.
But, this guy is just, I expect everyone in the chat to be moist very, very soon after he comes on. I think warn them. I think we need a public health warning to everyone in the chat. Be prepared for moistness.
Okay.
I think that's fair. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think. Sorry, I was distracted then. Sorry. Right. Anyway, big up Eugene. Sorry. Let's bring him on. Big up.
I think we should. It's Jacob from United Spurs of America. Good evening, sir. How are you? How are you doing? You all right?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm not doing as good as that intro though, Rez. That was pretty impressive. I must say, you pick one of my favorite words in the dictionary, which is moisture, any rendition of that word. I mean, however you want to use it, noun, adjective. It's a very flexible word. They say
I like moistitude.
Oh.
Look, Lisa got it straight away. It's got to be Jacob. He always says moist.
There you go.
Speaking of average people that says he's running 5 minutes late, actually 16, and he's an absolute tyrant of the YouTube community, hanging out with members of society down the high road. I mean, this guy, he is like, wherever he goes, he finds famous people.
He does.
Noel Gallagher, Liam Gallagher, Graham Souness, Smith Richards, and Alan Harris. Let's get Gareth Mack on.
Yeah. And look at this.
How you doing, James?
Look at this. The refinement of the stream has just, sunk to new levels.
Well, I thought you were talking about me going on about all those famous people.
Yeah,
we were.
Anyway,
Sophie,
I haven't invited you to do your own Sophie's Corner. One, because I don't know what you think is going on tonight, but I don't know. Maybe you think something else is happening. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe you'll keep you guessing. And also, the content you've provided in the last week has been absolutely shit. So I cannot do anything for Sophie's Corner. So sorry, Sophie. We had this 2 weeks ago, and you promised to create more content, and there was no content this week. So
no.
Sorry, Sophie. And now you've supported all our viewers.
There is no Sophie's Corner this week. Would you believe?
No, it's unbelievable.
Whatever are we going to do? Whatever are we going to do?
Anyway, let's say hello to the people in the chat because this is.
Hold on, we haven't asked how Gareth's actually doing.
Sorry,
we normally do.
I was just waiting for him to interrupt and just be rude. But...
No, I'll be honest, boys. I'm feeling rough as arseholes.
rough as arsehole.
Sore throat, achy. I'm not going to lie. When you message say you have I forgotten you, I was just taking a minute. I just got a bit shaky, and I was like, Jesus Christ. So I was like, I'll come on, see how I last, and then we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, see how long he lasts. So
that's proper commitment. See, this is what Shelfside has. Committed guests. I love it. Thanks very much for coming with us, mate. It's good to have you.
If I have to bug out, I'll let you know, but I can always come back on another day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can always come another day.
Isn't that the next James Bond film? Come Another Day.
Come Another Day. Yeah.
I thought it was Come Every Day.
True.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then followed that with Brown Finger.
I think you can big up some people in the chat.
Let's big them up before I get this.
Once y'all start doing the super chat business, you got to at least wait, 10 minutes before you say things like anything.
We missed it. We can't do it. We haven't monetized the stream yet. We don't know how to do it. So yeah.
I missed the 10-minute deadline. 20 seconds too late to say the word cunt. Shit. What can I do?
You're so bad.
What can I do?
But on a serious note, Rez, let's not insult everyone. Anyway,
Why not? That's what we've been doing for the last year and a bit.
Anyway, what is this? Have you dressed the like and subscribe buttons in sexy lingerie and nibbled on various parts yet?
Yeah, that's what we do. So, this is to those in the chat who might not have yet, had a romantic, erotic experience with the like and subscribe buttons.
To be fair, this is where fingering should come back in fashion.
I think so. Absolutely.
Fingering on the dance floor, isn't that a song?
Fingering the like and subscribe buttons.
Oh no,
This is
it's
just
murder on the dance floor. Murder on the dance floor. Oh, sorry. I got it confused. Murder, fingering, same difference.
Yes, they're very, very easily confused, Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we
To be
say
fair,
that?
though, mate, if you're fingering on the dance floor, it probably smells like death.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Gareth, I'm not feeling well. Within 2 minutes, is already on top form. Brilliant.
Doesn't mean I still can't be a dirty bastard.
You're always a dirty bastard.
Right, anyway, let's say hello to everyone in the chat. Big up, Eugene. Big up, Mark Cousins. Good evening, Shelf Siders. Phil Baby. Chris Agenbar, who I'm going to find the comment where I... this one. Sorry, Chris. I ruined your earbuds or your ear drums. Let's just say.
Ear drums. Yeah, earbuds are things that you buy from Apple.
Andrew Gregory. Stuart727. Obviously, Sophie got the first one. Big up Tony Rodriguez. Big up Lisa. What?
I said big up to Tony.
Oh, okay. Big up Step Up Spurs. Big up Welsh Gal. Big up Swifty. Big up Paddy Hartnett and everyone else that's in there. So
and everyone else. And as always, at the end of the show, you will get a personal big up as I make a note of everyone in the chat. So stay tuned, and you will get a big up at the end of the show also. So I
just want to address Swifty. Yes, sniff,
Right.
up cold. It's a school night. Nothing else.
Absolutely.
And Elias, Barry, how's life in Emerson's Paradise? Better than fucking Eric Dyers, mate. So, go on. Better than Eric Dyers.
Okay, let's not fall out over this one. All right.
I'm not falling out. What are you talking about? What? Falling out with who?
Relax. Let's just think. I think it's time for Spurs on this day a la histoire.
All right, fucking hell. You're getting all boring now, man. I'll tell you what, I'll be glad next week. I'm going to have some fun.
Do you know what? I preferred it when you were single and sexually frustrated.
Well, what can you do?
Who? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's life, Anyway, Spurs on this day in histoire. Do you want to do them, Nick, or do you want me to do them? Because
I'll do it.
You do it. Yeah, that's
control. I've got in control. Just take control later when the quiz is on, yeah?
Yeah, no, it's cool, mate. I was just wondering.
Okay. Fucking hell, Gareth. I agree with you, man. Jesus. On this day in 1901, we knocked...
Hold on, let me just do a... what's her name?
I'm still angry. It's fine.
On this day in 1901, we knocked Bury out of the FA Cup. The first time since the Football League was created that the holders of the cup were eliminated by a non-league club.
And we all know what happened that year as well.
What happened?
We went on to lift the cup, 1901.
Oh, yeah. I got confused by myself there.
Well, there you go. You see.
I was thinking some kind of war or something. Some battle.
That was 13 years later.
Yeah, the first one,
Yeah. On this day in 1977, a team of British scientists... I've said 1997.
You said 1977.
I said, rewind it. Anyway, a team of British scientists at this isn't Spurs. At the Roswell Institute announced the birth of Dolly the sheep, the first clone of an adult mammal.
Mm.
And you've given me, knowing that I'm good with names, Rez, I've just seen the next one. And I'm going to have some fun with this.
I thought, did you want me to do it?
No, because I get names correct. Just ask Sophie. Sophie?
Yeah?
I get names correct, right? Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Maybe she's listening, maybe she's not.
Maybe she's
Birthdays today include happy birthday to Drew Barrymore, the late Steve Irwin, and the
Oh,
German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer.
There you go, Schopenhauer. Not bad at all. There you go.
Yeah.
hey, R.I.P. Steve Irwin. R.I.P.
So
fuck with
that
Steve
was-
Irwin.
So that was Spurs and other things on this day à la histoire. A bit of a somber one to come. The very sad news that broke today that John Motson, the veteran commentator who commentated on more than 2,500 football matches, sadly passed away at the age of 77. So a real legend of the game, really. An icon for a lot of us in this country. Brilliant commentator. Probably the best that there's ever been, certainly in my view. A commentator who, when he actually made or mentioned an interesting fact, it was actually interesting. Unlike the bollocks that you hear from the likes of Alan Cocking Smith and Martin Tyler. They could have learned.
Hell of a middle name.
Right? They could have learned from this.
Cheap shots of Sam Matterface.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Rez, for me, we spoke about earlier. I think obviously loads of people have got loads of memories, and obviously put that, obviously there's the Ricky Vere moment. I wasn't born. But for me, it was down at Adams Park, 1990, the first season that Wickham had played at their new stadium, and they're in the FA Cup against Peterborough United, and he was stood there in the snow in his coat, and that's kind of one of the, maybe other people remember it, but obviously that's just down, it's literally over the other side of the hill from here. And that's the kind of the sheepskin jacket, like Phil Baby just said, with John Motson there. They're saying, I don't think this game's going to go ahead today. It's literally like 3 foot of snow. It's pelting down with snow. But just like you said, an absolute icon.
I had the pleasure of meeting him once.
Well, there's a surprise.
Surprise, yeah.
It was a 1,000th game at Wembley for England, and I was there with Ash, who we remember. I used to go to the football with. And you know what? He had a picture. And you know what? He stood and had 5 minutes just talking England with us. And it was like, people like Danny Murphy was going in and, Jeff Hurst. And it'd be like, yeah, kind of take the picture and off. Do you know what? He thought nothing about just standing, having a chat. And do you know what? Even to this day, it is probably my fondest memory of that game.
Yeah.
And Ash loved it as well. It was just, the guy was an absolute gentleman.
Jacob, did you ever get to hear Motson commentate, or do you know of this gentleman?
If I'm gonna be real honest, I heard of him this morning. So
That's
R.I.P. R.I.P. to
Yeah.
Marty. It sounds like he had a hell of an impact. I've watched some of the highlights back. I watched back the Ricky Villa. But he said Villa, didn't he?
Yeah, the way he pronounced it was funny as fuck.
Villa. Yeah, he pronounced it Villa.
That's always fun.
You got to bear in mind that it wasn't the first set of foreign players, but it was rare to have foreign players.
That's funny.
In the English league at that time. The fact that Spurs went to Argentina after the 1978 World Cup and brought back 2 of the stars was in all the newspapers. It was a massive story because we didn't have that many foreign players, and certainly not South Americans. So it was a big deal. But obviously they were unfamiliar names. Now with the influx of foreign players that we saw since the Premier League came in, it's more common to have foreign players with non-English names that the commentators have to learn. So back then,
let me pose you this: what about Aston Villa? Did he ever call Aston Villa Aston Villa? That's my next thought. But rip the man. I don't want to ask too many questions like that. But R.I.P. for sure.
He was a top commentator. Really, just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I heard a lot of people in the
childhood when it came to football, FA Cup weekends. We all grew up with him, and your FA Cup weekend, you associated with John Motson, you associated it with his commentary, and just the way he was able to turn his words into something special. You enjoyed listening to him. You enjoyed his commentary. You listen to Lee Dixon, you listen to Sam Matterface and all these other people now, and they're not a patch, and they never will be.
Near.
Commentary off, but John Motson, more. You know what? You would listen to him until the very end. Just superb.
Absolutely. He was brilliant. So, rest in peace, John Motson. We have lost the legend of the game today, and there is no one to replace him. So, on to happier things. On Sunday, Tottenham 2, West Ham 0. That was a lot of fun. Gentlemen, which of you went? I know, Gareth, you were there, weren't you? Nick and I unfortunately missed it. Obviously, Jacob, being 3,000 odd miles away, would be difficult for you to get there. A little bit. But I'm sure you watched the game. Gents, give us your thoughts. Gareth, what did you think? How was it?
It was, do you know what? As per, first half was a little bit, typical Spurs of how they've been of present. And the second half, it kicked up a little bit. They found a couple of gears. They managed to, open things up. Højbjerg, we say time and time again how underrated he is. The pass that he played was absolutely immense that went through the Davies. Since Paro's joined, Royal has found a whole new lease of life. The guy has become a good player. I backed him at the start. I started to wobble a little bit, and now all of a sudden he's doing what I thought he could. It kind of reminded me of when we had Friedel, when we bought Lloris, how they pushed each other. And I think all the hard work that Emerson's been putting in off the pitch is potentially now paying dividend. He's putting in really good performances recently, and I think I'm talking about him because he deserves the mention. He deserves the chuck ups. He's been given so much shit. A player that gets booed onto a pitch, and you know what? The guy's still smiling. He's still all about the shirt. And you've got to give him credit for that. It's the same with Højbjerg. Højbjerg gets absolute pelters. And I've always said he is that midfield guy for us that does the dirty work. You need that player, and it always goes under the radar because it isn't the flair, it isn't the panache that you might get with Bentancur taking on 2 or 3 players and getting around them. But then, like I said, the ball he played through to Davies. If that had been Harry Kane, Sky Sports would have been touching themselves all week over it.
Yep.
If that had been Rashford, any other player, they'd have been going nuts over it. Højbjerg has shown that he does have another element to his game. It's whether or not he's in a position to be able to do it. And I think with Benny not playing now, we might see a little bit of that part of Højbjerg's game coming into play, which I hope we do, because it's going to be nice. It's good to see that we do have a little bit more potential in the squad than what we've probably given them credit for this season, because they haven't deserved the credit, because they haven't put in the performances, they haven't put in the shifts that we know the squad can. But yeah, it was a good second half. We finished 2-0, and I'm looking forward to going on Sunday and hopefully, doing a number over Chelsea.
Well, we'll look at that later on. Absolutely. Jake, what did you think? How was it for you? What is going on? Why can we still seemingly not get around this team of two halves syndrome that we're suffering? Again, a poor first half. Was that Spurs, or was that just West Ham nullifying us? First half, lethargic and sort of seemingly toothless. Second half, playing with a lot more verve and energy and getting the result. What did you see?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's always the tale of two halves. And when we show up in the first half, then we don't show up in the second half. We saw that versus City. So to me, I was just thankful we went in 0-0, because I think we like to concede in the first half and in the second half. I think in both the halves with the the defenders that we have, they're quite I don't want to say insufficient, because they're like sufficiently a human out there filling out a jersey, but I don't know about sufficiently like a very good footballer in any sense. So when I watch Dyer, honestly Davies, I gotta actually tip my hat to him a little bit. He's been playing really well. I thought he took on a slightly new. I've never seen him play left wing back like that. So that was kind of nice to see. It's definitely better than Sessegnon out there in his first try at it. So it's like, why not at least let him be the backup for Perisic? Perisic is a liability defensively. I know it doesn't have much to do with the game, but for me, Richarlison could have done more. I was a little disappointed. I thought, he gave us everything that we say he's good at, right? Which is, he gives the hard, he fights hard, he runs hard, he's in people's face, he gives a nasty, mean mug. I guess that's really kind of all he really does for us in the Premier League. Still waiting for that goal, but I don't know. I don't know what I make of it. Dan Kulisevsky, I'm about to nickname him Hulisevsky. Who the fuck is this? He doesn't play like he used to play. What's wrong with him? The physio room have their little tentacles on him? I don't know. Is he playing 85% healthy? I don't know. At some point, I just am desperate for anything. Put Son out there. Put Danjuma out there. I really don't give a shit. Put anyone out there if he's not playing well. I thought he did do better in the second half. But you could say that about pretty much everyone in the match at that point. Oliver Skipp, I thought he was very woeful in the beginning of the match. And whatever happened at halftime, I don't know if it was a nice little towel whip from Stellini. Maybe Stellini has a better little snap of the wrist than Conte, and it made Winks perform. So, or Winks, Skipp, same fucking player in my opinion. But he did do good in the second half, and I will give him that. So I was a little surprised. Okay, Papa Matessar, Papi Matessar is not playing. So he came on and he didn't play much. So, the game is what it is. We came out with a 2-0 win. That's taking care of business at the end of the day. For me, I got 50. For me, I just think it was nice to see Christian Romero play the way he played. Emerson Royale, obviously, like Mr. Mack alluded to.
We'll come to individual players in a sec. Again, for me, in the 20-odd games, 23, 24 games, or whatever it is that we played, have we had one complete performance? Have we had a game in which both first half and second half, it has been all Spurs?
I think we've had one, and it poses the question I was going to ask you guys. So for me, the City game was probably the most complete performance we've had. All right. The 3 games that Stellini has taken control of, I think, have been the best games of football I've seen Tottenham play this season. I think that he's got a balance right. He's using the attack. Do you think he's been let off the leash to do what he wants? And if he hasn't, why is it so different with Conte when Conte's away and Stellini's at the helm?
Didn't Conte say that in the in-game shit, he leaves to Stellini, the picking the team, he leaves to Stellini because he sees them every day in training? Conte, how much has he really been at training? Who's going to say better who's going to say Conte or Stellini's going to say Skipp or Sarr should start? Who made that decision? I think it's got to be Stellini, in my opinion. But
to me, it looks like Spurs play with, like, the pressure's off. Someone's taken the lead off, the pressure's off, and they're told to go out and play. There's that attacking bite to Spurs.
Yeah, substitute teacher syndrome. When he's not when daddy's not home to spank you, you might act a little different. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's it. Conte, maybe they let ketchup in the house now that Conte's gone. I don't know. They're playing, like you said, a little bit more freely. I think. Whatever people want to say about Son, I think he also, when he came on, he looked confident. I thought versus City, even though he didn't score, he looked confident with the ball at his feet, taking on more. That's just my opinion. Can Jacob
later, Drew? Later, we'll come to that. Don't you worry. Barry, what?
Sorry, what did you say on top of what Jacob said? It almost feels like Conte being in the dugout adds its own pressure.
Well, yeah, if you look over, you see Conte's stern look, looking at you. He's unhappy. He's yelling. You know, you're not trying to hear what he's yelling at you. But if it's fucking Stellini's goofy ass, you be like, oh, okay, what's up, Stellini? Oh, okay, that's what you think. Well, I'm still going to do my thing. I mean, hey, whatever it is, the man's undefeated whenever he substitutes for Conte. So long may that reign. If that's what's, you know, getting the results for us, I really don't give a shit who's in the dugout. 2-0 victories, I'll take them all day. So.
Yeah.
Huh? Nick, Sean, man of 1,000 names. What did you think of the game?
Well, it just answers the question that we all know: do West Ham get battered everywhere they go? So yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But don't forget how massive they are.
Yeah, massive. Yeah,
That's right. They're
massive.
huge. They're massive, and they get battered everywhere they bloody well go. So let's have a look at the team. First up, Mr. Mac. What were your thoughts on Fraser Forster's performance?
I thought he had a good game. For me, every keeper's only as good as their defence, and I think the defence they played well. You know, they covered the spaces and they gave West Ham few chances, but the chances that they did get, I think Foster covered it well. I think he was quick to react when things came his way, and I think he kept things quite calm at the back as well. I like Fraser Foster. I've never made any bones about that, and I think that he's a good goalkeeper. And I was pleased when he came to Spurs. And he was unlucky against Forest because our defence was all over the place when we played in the cup. But for me, yeah, Foster's a calm head. He's experienced, and I think he played well. But that also includes the fact that the defence played well.
Cool. Any other thoughts on Forster, guys? Anything to add? He had a fairly quiet game, really. He wasn't really called into action much, was he? It wasn't as if the goal was being peppered by West Ham. They seemed not pretty toothless, but toothless for a Premier League side, I would say.
It seemed like they had just Bowen out there, just fuck it, throw it up, see what sticks on the wall. And
do you know what? He made one good save of any note.
Declan Rice, I don't know what that was. That was some easy rice. I don't know what easy bake. I don't know what they got over there in England, but whatever it is, he's some easy cookings over there. I liked what I saw because honestly, I think he's kind of a dick. And then the shit that came out, what he said to Højbjerg, I'd throw down for Højbjerg.
It's like, oh no, handbags. Yeah. So Gareth, your rating out of 10 for Forster?
It's only going to be a 6 because he had so little to do. You can't. Yeah. He made one save of note. So yeah, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, brilliant. Jacob, Cutie Romero, what did you think?
Long may he reign with his third leg. He was out there slanging it around confidently, and that's what I like to see. I think I wasn't the only one. A lot of people said before the World Cup, Christian Romero was looking like he might be holding back. He didn't want full exposure, if you will, but. Well, now, fuck it, he's a World Cup winner. He's playing like Big Daddy. He's got a kid. I mean, I know what that's like. You get that daddy bump of like confidence of who you are, what you're doing. Like, okay, this is what it's for. I love it. I love to see it. You see Harry Kane. I think he's a one hell of a professional, but that's not just because of Harry Kane. That's because of the support system he has. And I think the more that younger players like Romero have that support system, the more that they can flourish at doing what they are. Exactly, Mark Swift, BDE. He's the champion. I think if we hand out an award on United Spurs of America for BDE, who's had it the most. Since Romero's joined, it's been Romero. And honestly, I like what I see from him. If I have to give a 1 out of 10 rating, I'm going to give him like an 8. I thought he was solid. And the only reason I don't give him perfect is just because I don't think anyone's perfect. But he was solid. We kept a clean sheet. It's hard to really bash on people that I enjoy.
Can I just put you up on one thing very quickly? I mean, obviously, if you can't give him a perfect score, you could have given him a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, but I feel like I remember one time he was being clumsy with the ball, and I was like, "Come on, man, pass it." And so that's why I take a point for that.
That's fair enough. No, cool.
Yeah. There's only one person that's going to get a 9 on this score rating. And we all know.
Thankfully, you don't get to give him that rating. You instead, Barry, get to talk about Eric Dyer.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah,
I know.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Well, Elias is in the comment. He'll probably say he's the best player in the squad. But look, clean sheet, didn't have to do a lot. That's about it, really, for me. From Dyer, there wasn't anything to write home. I mean, you know, you could take the whole of the defense bar Romero and probably Royale, but the rest of them was kind of meh. Didn't really do anything. Didn't really have to do anything. I guess the positive is he didn't have 3 assists like he did against Leicester. So yeah, that's the positive. So yeah, I'd say it's 7 at best, and that's probably pushing it.
Right.
Just because he got a clean sheet. So yeah.
Any thoughts from you other two gents about Eric? Oh, for the love of God, Dyer.
My mum always taught me if you can't say anything nice,
say something rude. Any further takers? 7?
I stand by what I say. You can't spell Dyer without DIE.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
I like that.
So, okay, in that case, Gareth, what did you think of Clommer Longley and also Perisic when he came on?
Honestly, I didn't really. Do you know when there's a player on the pitch and you don't really notice they're on? Longley was that player for me against West Ham.
Yeah.
Nothing really stood out for him. With me, a bit like Dyer, probably a solid enough game against a toothless West Ham, but nothing special, nothing to write home about. And then Perisic came on, and we've still not seen the best of him. His defending is not up to scratch compared to what he was like over in Italy. Yeah, he can ping a cross in, but in the grand scheme of things, yeah, we've definitely not got the best of him. I don't think we'll ever see the best of him. I think he's a little bit too long in the tooth to play that position in the Premier League. I would probably give Perisic a 5, and I'd probably give Longley a 6.57.
Right. Any takers? Any further thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I think I agree. And also, when he came on, Jared Bowen was absolutely licking his lips, and within about 30 seconds, he's absolutely skinned Perisic on that right-hand side, that left-hand side. So yeah, he was. We know what he's capable of going forward, but yeah, he can't. If you neither him nor Cess on that left-hand side,
they're both liabilities at the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Have we bought a spent force in Ivan Perisic? Is it basically now just too late? We should have bought him a couple of years ago, and that the best of him was spent.
For the speed of the Premier League, he's 2 years past it.
Yeah,
players like Cavani that have come in later. They're forwards. They've got to chase the ball down. They've got to get the space in the box. But when you're trying to take on Luke Shaw's, Jared Bowen's, then no, he's, for me, yeah. If he'd come from another Premier League club, it might have been different because he's already acclimatised and suited. But yeah, I think we've got him at the wrong time. Yeah,
and look. If you look at the players that go down that right hand side. I mean, you look at your Liverpool's, your Man United's, Chelsea. I know they're in a mess, but all those players that will tack down that right hand side, they've. When Perisic is on the field, and it's been a massive switch from maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago, where they would always they'd go down Emerson's side because they knew they'd get some joy. Now they're leaving Emerson, or they left Emerson because they thought, well, this guy 6, 7, 8 weeks ago was playing like he was playing. Now they're literally going down that left hand side because they know that that's the side that is vulnerable for us.
On the attack, they're full of confidence. When Perisic is there to cross a ball or to clear the first man in a corner, but there's no balance on that left side now. And the only thing for me when it comes to the left side now is, as much as we've got this young lad who's over at Udinese, right? He's absolutely brilliant in his attacking game. Right, he's absolutely brilliant in his attacking game from what I'm able to see with the highlights of his games. But I'm not sure whether he's got the defence side of things as good. And I'm wondering if when he comes, are we going to end up in the same position when it comes to defending? You know, but we're going
To
to
be
have to fight
fair,
in the attack.
to be fair to him defensively, Destiny Udogi I'm talking about, at Udinese, he's more of a left winger than a wing back. He kind of doesn't get asked to track back, and when he does, honestly, I've watched Udinese since we signed this kid just so I could watch him, because I was like, you know, if we're gonna, same thing with Papi Matesar. I'm trying to get that one to stick. I'm just gonna keep throwing it at the wall. Maybe lose my train of thought. No, whenever you go to a team, you buy their player and then loan them back. That shows me a couple things. It shows me that, one, the club doesn't want to get rid of them but needs the money, and two, that they probably got some kind of quality to them that the team at least wants to use them for this one more season. And I've been watching him. I thought he's looked confident on the ball. He looks confident working with the team as far as making his runs, tracking back when he does need to. But he does kind of play more like less of a wing back and more of like a midfield winger on the left there. But I like what I
to get back. It's just he's got the pace to be able to get back.
He definitely
and
could.
that in itself could cause problems, but. He's
a physical player too. He's definitely can take a man on physically, defensively, and offensively. So I like what I see from him in that aspect. It's just, again, how does this translate to the Premier League, where he can do all this fanciness in the Serie A, in the Serie go fuck yourself. Let me see him in the Premier League. That's how I see it at this point. I'm tired of trusting what I see.
He's young enough and hungry enough to adapt well to the Premier League.
That's my hope. That's my hope.
Which country is Serie A go fuck yourself played in?
I believe in the small little country of Yugoslavia. Fuck yourself.
Is that in the province of up yours?
I'll tell you what's interesting, right? The farmer, the people that we were all mocking and calling the French Ligue 1 as the Farmers League. There was a tweet today about going, oh, Farmers League, really? And there was the results: Tottenham, Milan, Chelsea, Dortmund, City, Leipzig, and obviously Real Madrid, Liverpool. So they were having a bit of having a bit of fun
at our expense, yeah. Having a bit of fun.
Swifty knows where Jacob's talking about. He goes, it's in the USSR.
Exactly. See, Swifty knows. Swifty knows.
Okay, so Jacob, talk to us about everyone's favorite zebra, Emerson Royale.
I do have to ask, though, what is the zebra business? What does that mean?
Well, he looks like a zebra.
Is it his hair, the stripes in his hair?
Barcelona, they're 1-0 up.
Yes, true. Yeah, but his hairstyle makes him look a bit like a zebra. Don't you think?
I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. Definitely. I can see that. But Emerson Royale, for me, I thought he was great defensively. He was great going forward, and he's starting to put his game together. Gareth, you kind of alluded to it earlier when you were talking about when we signed Pedro Porro, there's some switch that got turned in Emerson Royale. And you know what? At this point, long may he reign. I don't care if it's Porro. I don't care if it's Royale. What I saw of Porro, one start away at the King Power. To me, it's a tough ask of anyone when you're coming from the Portuguese league. They're not even Ligue 1, but what is this? What are you going on about? Emerson Royale.
It was hard to follow in that game with a hungry Leicester side who were chasing everything and a Spurs side who just couldn't be bothered to do fuck all.
Well, let's be real. I mean, he's playing with Japhet Tanganga. Does he know him? Has he ever talked to this man before they went to the King Power and played next to each other? That's a question I have.
I'd have played Royal at right centre back personally.
I did hear people saying that. I don't know about playing a whole different position, but defensively, you could make the argument. I could definitely understand the argument and making the argument that defensively, Emerson Royale may be able to do something in some different position. But to me, whoever's playing the best, I want the most informed person out there. Like the same thing with the left side. Perisic, I don't want him out there if he's going to be clunky feet. We saw the red flags for me first when we played Manchester United. Anthony, make of him what you will. Some say he's great. Some say he's just a juggler. Some say he's a circus act. To me, the man's got talent with the football, and either way, it struck fear in the heart of Ivan Perisic. And honestly, I was like, this doesn't look good. If Anthony's turning him around, this is his first year in the Premier League. To me, I'm worried about the left wing back until next season, when hopefully Udogie could come good. But at this point, I think we're going to need someone else. Perisic may be good for the training ground, but I don't know about outside the locker room. Maybe he's good in the locker room with the players. I don't know.
For me, I think we need to find a left wing back more defensive minded, because the way I would play him for his first season anyway, would be like the last 20 minutes. He's going to cause that tired defense, issue after issue after issue. And I think that would be a good way, excuse me, to bring him into the game, to build his confidence up, and then see and work on the defensive side, at the training ground, but bring in a more defensive minded left wing back for me, because that's what we haven't got defensive wise. We're bollocks down that side.
Question: does the need for better defensive qualities in our left wing back become less of a priority if we get better centre backs? Because surely that's the point of a back three, is that you are less reliant on your wing backs to provide defensive cover, because you've got those three centre backs.
It's a perfect question. It's a perfect question, and the answer is yes. But this is Tottenham.
Yeah.
You need to know that we as fans, because of the way we look at it, we need to know that our left wing back, whoever that might be, no matter how fast he is or how talented he is on the ball going forward, is going to have the ability, have the calmness and the forethought to be good in defence. Reggie, good going forward, a little bit childish, hot-headed going back. Sessegnon looks like Bambi, doesn't know where the fuck he's going. What the fuck?
Just give him some time to grow his confidence, guys. What are you talking about?
Problem is, though,
some time.
for me with Sessegnon, all right, from what he was like at Fulham to what he's like now. Have you ever seen the film Philadelphia?
Yeah.
All right. Do you know the part where they sack him and they say, it's the point where you realise that the potential has come to nothing. And for me, that's where Sessegnon sits for me. He's a mid-table player. He's got something about him, but is he good enough for top four? Same as Eric Dyer. No.
Well, that's the point. Hasn't Sessegnon really had enough time to demonstrate? We've castigated Emerson for not showing enough qualities as a footballer, right? He has now, however you want to rate him now, be that still crap, still, mediocre, still good, still crap, now mediocre, now good. Whatever you want to rate him as now, he has certainly improved on what he was. The question here,
the managers that Sessegnon has worked under, right?
Has Sessegnon improved?
There has been little or no improvement.
That's it, exactly. That's the key here. Has Sessegnon improved? Has Sessegnon improved in any significant fashion? Even Emerson has improved on what he was, right?
I think
I would argue that Sess
more
regressed
for Fulham than he scored for Spurs. I think he had more assists at Fulham than what he has for Spurs. And you, like I say, you look at the managers he's played under. He's played under some world-class managers who know how to get the best out of their players. And that boy has not shot into the stratosphere like everyone believed he would when he first made his scenes at Fulham.
Well, physically, he's got it all. He's got the complete package you would look for in a left wing back. I think that's why Hoffenheim wanted him in the first place. For me, how many times how many times did he get in front of goal, have a wide open net, and fucking send it up to the rafters? To me, that's inexcusable. You have to show composure. Fucking Emerson showed composure. Ben Davies showed composure when they got that silky pass from Højbjerg. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between you may be good, you may be shit, you may be great. But if you don't show up, you don't have composure, it don't fucking matter how good or bad you are. Emerson Royale, he could be the worst player in the world, but he slots at home when he gets his chance. We haven't really seen that from Sessegnon. I would say that he's regressed instead of progressed in any aspect. Offensively, Sessegnon offers you nothing. Defensively, he's more of a liability than Perisic. And that's saying something because Perisic is a fucking
Reggie and
liability.
Sessegnon, I nicknamed Jigsaw because they go to pieces in the box. They just haven't got a fucking clue.
I thought because they fit together so well and they belong together in some puzzle that you don't fucking put together. Anyone else have those puzzles you just like have at the house and no one really fucking puts them together?
I'm just thinking this one through. No.
all I'm saying is Emerson Royale, because obviously we're talking about Emerson Royale. I'm not having this Pedro Porro. It was his first fucking game bullshit that I'm hearing. Right. It was his first game. You need to give him time. He's supposed to be the answer. He's supposed to be the fucking replacement.
And the way that Porto play, he's supposed to already be near enough knowing pretty much what we want from him as well.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So my point here is no one is blaming Romero for getting sent off, because obviously ultimately he got sent off, which obviously we know we're worse without him.
Mate, if I was getting a leg tattoo done, I'd get sent off.
Okay, but yeah, exactly. But also, what we need to realise is that yes, we all know, and deep down, I probably know that Porro is probably the answer. But credit where credit is due for Emerson Royale this last month. He has been exceptional, and people saying Scott. I'm not fucking having this. He was not better in his first game in any Royale game has had this season. And Elias, you can fuck off as well, all right? I'm not having any.
Do you know what? If Royal maintains this form until the end of the season, right, and Porro gets bedded in properly, Emerson is now going to be a very good second if Porro fulfills his potential.
Yeah, and that right-hand side is sorted, right? Because you then got those two, Kulu down the side as well, if he can find the form that he was in.
The only thing you've got to worry about is whether Doherty comes back from Atletico, because apparently they've terminated it, but that he's coming back to sign for Spurs on completion of his loan.
Oh, really?
What?
When it first happened, so basically Spurs realised that they'd fucked up with their loans, so they had to terminate the contract, but it was on the agreement that they would re-sign him on the end of the loan.
Oh my God. Oh my God! Can our club get any more ridiculous?
Don't worry about it. We all know what Levy's gentlemen's agreements are like, so he won't come back anyway.
Oh my Lord, that says it all really about our bloody club. Anyway, enough of Emerson Royale. On to the young buck, touted by some to be a future captain, Oliver Skipp. And also, if anyone wants to mention Papa Mate Sarr's, sorry, it's Pap Mate Sarr's.
No, it's I Papi.
Okay.
Say that again. Call me Pappy.
Hey, Papi Chulo. Come on. You already know.
Talk to us about Ollie Skipp.
Camera off a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. Now Matt's computer's just shaking.
Tell us about Ollie Skipp. Ollie Skipp.
Look, I think everyone was surprised that Skipp started over Sarr, based on that Sarr probably had you can say that he had the better game against AC Milan in the week, right? But for Oliver Skipp to get a yellow card so early in that game and to then have to walk that tightrope and get everything perfect for the remainder of the game shows what kind of
he grew into the game for me. And with what you're just saying, that for me also emphasised the maturity of the head that he's got, the footballing head he's got on his shoulders.
Well, he's given the ball away twice stupidly. So the second time he does it, he's like, well, I'm going to slide on your ass. Yeah, exactly. It's immature. I thought that the first half, to me, I was upset watching Skipp. Sometimes it's Oliver Skipp to my Lou. Sometimes it's Oliver Skipp in line because you're royalty. But I thought it was a tale of two halves. He's Tottenham through and through, if anything. He was shit in the first half. Like I said, I think Stellini's got more of a wrist action than Conte. So whenever they're in the old
quick ball flick
with the towel,
Can I temper a little bit of the sort of critique of Skipp by saying that he's only 22?
There's no critique. I said it. If he continues to develop and if he continues to do the things that he's doing, he'll be a future captain of Spurs.
You look at his mentality while he was injured. You look at the interview that he did. He might not have been on the training ground, but he was at every briefing. He was at every talk that Conte did to make sure that he stayed up to date with what was going on. The mentality, and he's got a very wise head on his shoulders. He's got a good footballing head on his shoulders. I like watching Skip. Yeah, I like to see he's not quite box to box, but he's prepared to get back and make that last ditch challenge. He's prepared to help cover the boys in defence, but he's not scared to move forward either. He's a bit like how Emerson was, 4 games ago. His final ball is not quite as good as it should be, or he'll get to that final third and end up going backwards, and do a bit of a winks. But on the whole, I think he's got every potential, and he's got all the signs to be an amazing midfield player. And I think the biggest problem, if he reaches his potential, is whether or not we keep hold of him.
Cool. Any other thoughts on Ollie Skip?
I will say a player's best ability is availability. So get your ass out the fucking physio room, get up to 100%, and I'm all for it. I never want to take a Tottenham lad, unless you're fucking Harry Winks. But I never want to take a true Tottenham lad and just really give up on them, because Skip, this is a player we saw team of the year with Norwich when they, I think it was a record-breaking season for them when they won the league for the championship. So he's got potential, but then he showed some bright signs, gets injured in the physio room. Oh, it'll be 2 weeks. 2 months go by. Oh, it's going to be another 3 months.
Can I just interject on that one, Jacob? Is that not down to our medical staff? Because Skip is not the first player,
nor will he be the last.
Room. He's not the first player that's gone under the tender mercies of our medical staff and has suffered as a result. Could that not be because he's just been not mistreated in terms of being treated badly, just maltreated, treated incompetently by our medical staff? And again, that speaks to a club that is, wouldn't put it past our club to be skimping on the medical staff.
But also the intensity of what Conte puts them through. So when we played Milton Keynes 2 pre-seasons ago, I was talking to some of the physio staff because they were loitering around the tunnel. And they said the one thing about Jose is he didn't push the players. They weren't fit enough. They, and we could see that on the pitch. Then Nuno comes in and they went, do you know what? The one thing he's doing is making them run. They're getting fitter, which is great, because without that, our attacking game's done. Conte's coming. You look at what he was doing to them in Korea. The way he was beating them on those death sprints. In that heat. If you go from being, lightly jogging and doing a few passes and a little bit of 5-on-5 or whatever it is they're doing, to then ramping it up a tiny bit, and then all of a sudden you're, 5th gear, 110 mile an hour. You're going to end up, doing more damage, and maybe we're just not picking up the extent of stuff straight away.
Well, I do want to admit, while we're talking about that,
with management, or more to do with management, or more to do with medical staff?
Well, I think to be fair, it does come down to the medical staff. They need to diagnose it properly. They need to treat it properly, and they need to not. But then you've also got to throw into the equation the possibility, depending on players that are already injured, the length of the injuries, if they're pushing players too soon, or they're letting players dictate, I'm okay for a training session today, a full one, and they tweak something again, maybe they should be erring more on the side of caution and having a bit more of a stronger grip on what the guys are doing when they're coming back from the rehabilitation.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. On to any other thoughts on Skip or Sal before we move on?
I do want to lastly say, since y'all brought up the training in Korea, if you do remember, I watched it back. I wanted to see them all sweat it out and, really put it out there on the pitch and just drain themselves. Who was leading the fucking pack was Ipapi Matesar. So this guy's fitness can't be fucking questioned. It don't matter if it's hot outside, cold outside. I think the man's a baller. Skip starting, I didn't call for it, but you know what? In the second half, he shut me up. I'll put it that way. I was a little upset in the first half because I was like, Papa doesn't do that. My Papa ain't going to do that to me. But he turned it around. And at the end of the day, I trust Stellini, like Conte said, I trust Stellini to pick the best player for that match because he sees them every single day. I don't. I watch the training videos they release, but I know as a person who's worked in the sports industry, I know how much of training they actually show you, which is not even the areola of a side boob. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's a lot more going on that we don't see. I trust Stellini.
Fair enough. So on to the Great Dane himself, potentially one of the men of the match, although not mine. I will mention that. Who went last? Who had skip? Barry did. So Gareth, talk to us about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
I really like Højbjerg. Always have. I think he's, as I said earlier, he does the dirty work. He does those things that the other players either don't see or they don't want to do. He's energetic. He is all about the team. He's G'ing the boys up. I think all round he's a good player. I like the way he plays for Spurs. And then he put that pass through, which showed something else to his game that we don't see very often. I think he had a solid game in the middle, and I think it allowed Skip to free himself up for the second half. I think Højbjerg is key. I genuinely do, because Højbjerg for me is a linchpin for whoever plays alongside him in the middle. Alongside Højbjerg, you're going to have the cover. You've got the freedom to be able to express yourself, to go forward, and he's going to be there to mop up the pieces. And I really like Højbjerg. Yeah, definitely in contention for man of the match. But yeah, Emerson was man of the match by a mile, and Højbjerg for me was close with a solid 7.5, 8 performance.
Excellent. Any other thoughts on PEH from you, gentlemen?
You're muted, Barry.
I've got it yet. No.
Just on the thing that Gareth touched on, in the fact that he would do things that other players didn't. There was a couple of times when there was a bit of we were under a bit of pressure, but he went down like he had an injury, but he didn't even get touched, right? So there was some of those things that he was doing that were just breaking up play.
What's that veteran savvy?
Just to elucidate for Elias, when Barry said he went down after he was touched, at that point you could say Oooo misses. Okay, I hope that helps.
Matron. Or show me the teddy bear where he was touched.
Exactly. Carry on. Sorry, Barry. Sorry, Nick. Carry on.
Yeah, and on that note, that's all we need to say.
Yes, that's all we need to know.
Yeah, sorry, Elias. Nick spent a bit of time inside, and when we talk about being touched and going down, it brings back flashbacks for him. Yeah.
Well, this is how we roll on thing.
All right then.
There you go. Yeah, he's
the Wi-Fi in the prison.
It is a trauma that sort of gives him flashbacks from time to time.
Can I throw something out there about Højbjerg?
Yeah, of course.
Since he's signed with us, have we had a more consistent midfielder? Is there a midfielder you could argue that in the span since, and there's been quite a few of them that are still fucking employed and get checks from Tottenham Hotspur?
Yeah. Well, he's played the vast majority. I mean, it's not even like the majority as in like more than 50%. It's like the vast majority as in as close to 100% of the games as it's possible to be to have played. And he seemed available most of the time. Obviously, he's had a couple of injuries because he's that kind of defender. He's that kind of destroyer. So he's going to get injured from time to time. But even then, when he's been injured on the thing, when he's got into a scrape, he's always wanted to come on. It's difficult to argue otherwise. Yeah. Any other thoughts, gents, on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg? Okay. So on to personally my man of the match, right? Which I think he doesn't get enough credit.
Rez can fucking go for that man of the match.
Yeah, I'm one of the hosts, mate. So yeah, it's all fine,
This is fun. I like the little war of the little musical chairs you're playing.
Jacob is now co-host. My man of the match. My man of the match was Ben Davies. I don't think he gets enough credit. I think he's one of those players that every squad needs, who is consistent, who will, do a job. He won't pull up any trees on a regular basis, but occasionally he'll have one of those games. He got an assist. He was everywhere on that left wing, which is not where he's been playing recently. So, guys, Jacob, you're next. Talk to us about gentle Ben Davies.
Gentle's a good way to describe this man, because I think defensively he plays gentle, but he's there. And sometimes that's more than some of us get with other people. They're gentle and they're there. And maybe that's not what you want or you need in that moment in time, but he's there. I think he's always going to be this, either he's going to give you a 5 or a 6. And to me, that's just my opinion. I thought he played a new role for himself that I thought he's played it for Wales, if I'm not mistaken, when USA was the one to get through to the World Cup group out of the group stages, if you don't mind. Excuse me, Wales. Which Ben Davies was taken down by Americans, which is always, it's a nice, pleasant thought that warms me at night. Moving along, though, I think Ben Davies, he did, like I kind of said at the beginning of the show, he did better than what Sessegnon would have done. He defensively was a little bit cleaner than maybe Perisic would have been. So I think he did the job. There's a reason. This pains me to say. Right. It pains me to say, because I fucking hate it, because how do you get 10 years at a club and you're not like world class, fucking the best player out there, let's keep him around, never let him go type of guy. He's a guy who, like I say, he's going to give you a 5 or a 6 every time. And when you have players like Dyer who give you a fucking 2 or a 4, maybe a 5 on a good day, it's just like, these guys they're both coming up together 20 years, a nice little twofer. That's just
but the difference between
unacceptable.
Davies and Dyer is Davies is dependable. You know that you can bring him on and he's going to shore things up. He's not going to do anything crazy, and he is Mr. Reliable. And to be fair, if you're going to pick one of the two to stay, Davies would be the one you would pick, because he is dependable. Whether it be the last 5 minutes, and also he does have, because of the fact he's got a good head on his shoulders, you would probably put him anywhere across the back three with 5 minutes to go, because you know you're gonna get a very focused 5 minutes out of him and hopefully keep things shored up.
To his credit, I also, not to downplay him at all, but when Harry Kane broke that 267, I was watching the highlights. Davies sent in quite a fucking few of them, so he's got a left foot on him. Let's not forget about it. But I just think, for the standard that we're asking, for the hopes and desires that I have, you need someone better to help you win the FA Cup than a Ben Davies and a long way than a Dyer.
The issue here, Jacob, is not that Ben Davies should be first choice. It is a question of
player. That was my point.
Yeah, exactly. Every squad needs players like that. Every squad, not every team, but every squad.
But you don't need two of them starting every fucking game together.
But we've got nobody better to cover
That's
it.
something else. That's about the management and the hierarchy here. The question here is, who would you rather have as your backup player, Ben Davies or Eric Dyer?
Okay, Ben Davies, yeah.
Or Davies and Sanchez.
Or Davies and Sanchez, yeah.
Sanchez is at least
out
physical
of all the
specimen.
players who can play central defense for us, if I had to pick one, Scott, if you had to pick one, yeah, or if you're forced to pick one, not you can't neither, of course, neither. Yeah, if I have it, I'd have Gvardiol and Skriniar and bloody Bastoni and 3 other world-class centre backs as the 6 centre back.
Don't rise to it. We know why he's in the chat. Don't rise to it, mate.
Is if in the situation we're in right now, if you had to keep one of that shower of shit, let's call it, which would you pick? Sanchez, Dyer, or Davies?
Ben Davies, the Welsh wizard.
Gvardiol and Skriniar.
He's a Welsh typhoon.
The Welsh
I picked Gvardiol.
The last 5 minutes, mate, I think, don't get me wrong, as much as Sanchez is athletic, and he's athletic and he's physical, Davies
Hey, if he
is
didn't get
also-
that header versus Watford last season, we don't make top four. I'm just saying. The header and stoppage time for the 1-0 win
Sometimes
versus.
the dogs are some days.
That's
I
it.
mean, this is factual information, so I do agree with you.
There you go.
We do try to
Anyway.
educate on this show.
Any further thoughts on Ben Davis? Anything further on Ben Davis? And I mean, wasn't he did well? He
I'll
did
give him
well
this.
against.
Yeah, the Welsh Cafu had a good game. Move on.
There you go. Okay.
Still can't
So
beat America,
now-
but we're moving on.
Now we come to, again, potentially another victim of our medical team, because he was pulling up trees right, left and centre, got injured, has come back and has not seemed to have hit the same heights. What has happened to Deki Kulusevski? And that's for you, Barry. You get to talk about him.
Kulusevski.
Well, I think he's clearly been rushed back, and he's clearly still injured. He's not the same player that we know and love from this time 12 months ago. So clearly he's been rushed back because ultimately, look, we all know, regardless of what people say about form and everything else, the front three of Kulu, Kane, and Son, they are the front three because they are the best three players to play in the attacking roles at the top of the tree for us. So, look, I think he's still injured. I think there's been patterns of play, but he's certainly in the last 3 to 4 weeks, he's certainly not been himself.
And to be fair, when I was watching the game, I was sat right down the right as we were attacking the south stand. And the one thing I noticed that Kulu wasn't doing that he used to do before was, before his injury, he would pick up the ball and he wouldn't think twice about getting his head down and trying to take it into the box, trying to take on a couple of players, put it through the legs, get round them and try and lay it off. Every time he laid the ball off to Emerson or whoever was the player around him, Skip, whoever had come up for support, he kind of ended up sort of drifting back up to the sideline or up to the edge of the corner of the box rather than trying to take it in. He had a couple of shots, he tried to cross it in a couple of times. He tried to go for the top corner a couple of times, didn't quite get his range. But
depends what top corner you're talking about.
That to me screams he's not 100% confident in whether he's fully fit or he's just taken a bit of a lack of confidence because he's had that time out with the injury. But he's not picking up that ball and attacking the defence and trying to get into that box the way he was before when I was watching that game at West Ham.
Mm-hmm. As we've asked over and over again about various players, what's gone wrong?
What's gone wrong? Well, we know what's gone wrong. It's the medical team. So
let me ask y'all this then, Barry, because one of your initial points was he was rushed back and he's not doing as well. Okay, well, we signed a fucking forward player in the summer. We loaned another one in January. Fuck it. That's kind of my opinion. If you're not playing well, Sonny got benched. If Sonny can get benched, they can get benched. So Kulusevski, when he just gives you kind of nothing out there on the day and he's rushed back, why not do Son on the right, Danjuma on the right? Who cares? Anybody, because Lucas Moura was atrocious, actually. There was that one breakaway
Kulu's
chance.
best game since coming back from injury was when he came on as a sub. I can't remember who we played against, but he came on as a sub and he started.
And he made an immediate impact.
Immediate impact.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with I don't know whether that was a mentality thing where it's, I'm only on the pitch for 20 minutes. The chances of me doing myself in a small or what, I don't know.
The doing yourself in got to go out the window, though, Garrett.
Yeah,
that's got to be out of your head.
And
that's that's what I think in the game that you're talking about, where he came on and he got the ball and just fucking ran, and that's what he's not doing right now.
Ran, and I think we ended up pulling one back, and it was because of Kulu. I think.
Yeah, and he's dancing on the sidelines. A confident Kulu, I agree, he can offer you something dangerous, but now it's
I think he knows
Kulusevski.
He's not 100% fit, and I think he's playing at 75% capacity because he doesn't want to make it worse.
So let's do. I think if that's the case, fucking put him on the bench, let him come on last 10 minutes.
But doesn't that scream volumes though to what Conte, Stellini, or whoever's taking charge of the team that week because one of them's away? actually thinks of what we have in reserve. We know that Lucas, he's got speed. Apart from that, he's not got much else. Since his Champions League heroics, right, the boy's not done much, but he'll still go down in folklore. And a happy days, he deserves it for that.
Sure.
Danjuma still needs to get fitted, get up to speed potentially. We played him against Preston. Preston's not exactly a difficult team to put in a class player against. Same with Poirot. They brought him in too early, and it ended up shooting us in the foot. But I think it just shows that it's just another example of how bad the medical staff are, but also what we don't have in depth to cover the positions. The fact that we've got to bring in Kulu at 75% to cover our right side going forward. Because let's be honest, Richarlison, he's got lots of effort, he's got lots of enthusiasm, but I don't think playing him right or left gets the best out of him. I think that he's glad to be on the pitch. He always gives his all. He wants to get on the end of the ball. He wants to score a goal. But Richie is not playing where he should be playing, and he's going to be no good to cover Kulu on the right with Son on the left, because neither of them are going to give the final ball that we need for Kane to try and get them into the back of the net.
Okay. Any further thoughts, guys, on Kulu? Or I know Moura was only, the tail end of the thing, but anything further to add to?
It was nice to give Moura a couple of minutes at home just to say goodbye.
That's fair enough. Fair
It
enough.
won't be the last goodbye.
Well, he's gone at the end of the season, isn't he?
Yeah.
On
Looks that way.
to the other Brazilian, Richarlison, and also Sonny's performance from the 68th minute. Who went last? Who had Kulu? That was you, Jacob, wasn't it? No, Barry. Sorry. So Gareth, Richarlison, and Moura.
To be fair, as I've already said about Richarlison, he's not playing in his preferred position. Yes, he gives maximum effort, and he's all about defending the team. Him and I don't know if you remember an old film called The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
I'm showing my age.
Quack.
But
Quack.
Richarlison and Romero, they're the Bass brothers.
Quack.
Really quack. That's it. The flying V boys.
Come on.
But he's not playing where he's naturally comfortable, and he's making the best of a bad situation, and you can't knock him for that. He wants minutes, but his confidence isn't going to get any better unless we start playing him in his position to try and get a couple of goals, whether that be playing two up front for the last 20 minutes of a game and bringing him on to give him that opportunity, or give Harry a rest. Stranger things have happened, let's be honest. Richarlison, he'll always give you 110%. We know that. We saw he did that at Everton, and he does it at Spurs every time he comes onto the pitch. He's all about the team. He's all about the boys, and he'll give his all for the shirt that he's wearing. But he's not going to get any confidence whatsoever unless he starts coming in the middle or playing with the two up top just to get him on the end of it. Maybe he needs a penalty. Maybe Kane needs to give him a penalty or something. And Son came on, and do you know what? He got his goal. He caused some issues. It was nice to see a glimpse of the Son that we know and love. Taking those runs and looking for Harry to pass him the ball, and he took his goal well. Richarlison, I'd give a 6.5 to, and that's just purely because he's out of position. And the fact he got the goal puts him up to a 7. He made a nuisance of himself, but he got the goal. He made it easy for the final bit of the game for us with that goal, and we was able to, just have a little bit more confidence in the stands as well. So for that, he'll get a 7.
That's fine. Any thoughts, guys, on Richarlison and Sonny? Any other thoughts?
No, it made a massive difference. You almost like Kane was like, oh, thank fuck for that. Sonny's next to me, plays that ball into him, that touch, and then go. And it's like,
Richarlison looks lost on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he looks lost.
He looks lost, and it's not his position. You could argue that Danjuma could play there, but look, it's like I said, with the three of them, even with them not on form and not fit and not firing, they're still better than what we've got on the bench or anything else, which just goes to show the strength and depth that we don't have. And it was Danny says it perfectly. Waste of 60 million unless he's been bought to replace Kane, and if he has, then Christ. So,
and that's the thing. He's never maybe he has, maybe I don't know. Has he ever played as a lone striker up front for anyone?
Who, Richie?
Yeah.
Brazil?
Brazil.
He had moments, didn't he? Have moments for Everton where he was a
He
lone
was always
striker.
like the left striker at Everton. Him and
But that's
when Calvert-Lewin was out,
Calvert-Lewin.
they played him up front on his own a few times. And he didn't do too bad. But to be fair, that was
he's more suited to playing. He's more suited to playing as part of a strike team rather than taking responsibility for himself.
Before we signed Richarlison, my opinion of the guy was he tries to act hard, but he's actually not that good. Was kind of my initial opinion of the guy. But then you could argue he came in, he had a nice outside of the boot assist to Harry Kane in the Premier League, in one of his first substitute appearances. Got 2 goals in the Champions League, but done fuck all since.
Yeah.
And to me, there is an X factor that Gareth was kind of talking about earlier, that he's always going to go out there and put it on the line, whether he gets peanuts for time or he gets a whole entree 3-course meal. He's going to put it out there. I can admire that, but at the same time, if you're getting your chances, you need to be held under the same fucking scalpel that everyone's holding to Sonny's throat, that everyone holds to Kane's throat. You need to be, because if you got, how much, 68 minutes? What did you do? 2 shots on target? I don't remember them being great shots either. So
Sure.
you could argue he lost possession only 9 times. You know, sometimes we, our front three will lose it at least double digits per match. But to me, I just don't think he's offered us really much. You see with the Brazil squad, though, he shines in that lone role. I think he could. I think if we drop Kane back, play him up, or if we switch and we play 2 strikers up top, and we want to bring Son off the bench still, let Richarlison and Kane do work, because he naturally drifts in the middle. He did it all match. Him and Kane were in each other's way. It's like that's going to happen.
That's the one thing we've got. The one thing Spurs have got going forward when the players are on form that Brazil have got. We've got players that can put in a cross. We've got players that would be able to find Richarlison. And it's like I was saying, you play him out of position, he's not going to do fuck all. And as Barry was saying, he looks lost. But we do have the players to be able to find him. And you're right, if you played Kane behind him and you played Kulu and Son, or even Perisic because of his final ball, with Richie in the middle, I think you'd probably see a very different Richarlison.
And even just let Kane hang at the top of the box for those, because I think we see it so many times with these wingbacks and their inconsistencies going forward, is we always don't really know where those crosses coming in, where they're going to go. Is it going to go to the penalty spot? Is it going to the top of the box? Is it going over past far post? What are we going to get on any given day?
The only problem I think you've got, though, with dropping Kane back, because he is so used to being Spurs' main man, Spurs' spearhead up front, it then becomes, again, like you said, they get in each other's way. They both know where they want to be. They're both very similar as regards positioning they want to try and take up in the box. And I think with Kane, even if you dropped Kane back, I think that he would still consciously or subconsciously take it upon himself to make sure that he was at that man the ball came to. And I think that would cause an issue if you played them both up with Kane just behind.
Okay. Any further thoughts on Richarlison or Son?
Young man daddy, it's very good to see him score again. My father has returned home. He went out for cigarettes and milk, and he's home. Everyone's been hating on my dad because he ain't showed up to no PTA meetings. But guess what? Daddy is home. So I just want to say that about Young and Son. So,
mate, it's a booty call. He'll be gone again soon.
Hey, but he brought me a gift from his travels. All's well. He will return when he wants to. He's Young man daddy. Come on. Anytime he scores, it makes me emotional. So I'm just going to put, I'm huge bias, but you know what? It's hard to argue with the numbers, right? He makes 2 substitute appearances, has 4 goals, makes 20 starts, has 1 goal. There's something to be said. I think him coming in the 60th minute at the defense that has already been attacked by Richarlison, maybe slightly physically abused by Richarlison and Romero, because Romero likes to play striker. Don't you forget it. He likes to run up there and cause havoc. So I feel like maybe that is the point where we can also then open the game plan up to where it's not, hey, Son, keep tracking back, playing in that left defensive mid position because we can't fucking retain possession. And so I want Son in space making those runs. That's what he's good at. That's how he won the Golden Boot. So the more we get closer to what he did do successfully, I think that we see that, and the game's a little more opened up. His defensive duties are not as needed, if you will. Like Richarlison was playing the position decently fine as far as the getting back and playing defense. He showed a willingness to get back and play defense, which I'd rather Richarlison get back and play defense than fucking Son. That's just how I feel.
I'm talking about Daddy's son. I met his dad after the West Ham game.
I saw that photo on Twitter. I was really jealous.
Yeah,
Did he say anything to you, or did he say like no words?
Mate, it was like, can I have a picture? He was like, yes, you know, English.
He must get asked that all the time.
Mr. Mac, how are you, Mr. Mac?
Yeah, he was like, oh, I remember you from the Sensational video. How you doing, mate? You know what? It was a quick pick. He seemed quite shy, to be fair, but it was a nice little moment to get that one.
Excellent stuff. Fantastic. So now to all three of you, let's talk about Harry Kane. It always seems to be that we come to Kane last. Funnily enough. So yeah, guys, who's going to go first? How was Kane? No one wants to go first. Am I going to have to pick you? All right, Gareth, you go first. Talk to us about Harry Kane, because I know you
went first last time. I don't want to go first.
You love Harry Kane on a deep personal level, don't you?
I'll be honest, Rez. My opinion of Harry Kane has slightly changed. I now sing one of our own.
Really?
Before I was very anti, and it actually started from Bournemouth, the Bournemouth game. So do you know how my perception of Harry was? He was always a miserable fuck when he was asked for a picture, and unless it was for PR, he wasn't bothered. I was down in Bournemouth for the away game, and I was waiting in the lobby of the hotel that they were in. And there was a couple of kids, and I was there with my shirt, and I was quite lucky. Apart from Kulu and Spence,
push the kids out of your way.
Everybody, even Harry, but he came over without even having to be asked. But as he walked in, a couple of kids was like, "Oh, Harry." He's like, "You all right, boys? How you doing?" He was very interactive with them. And the last few times I've seen him, like as I've gone through to the yellow car park and things like that, he's been a lot more positive. His interaction has been a lot nicer, and it has genuinely changed my perception. Maybe I've just been really unfortunate on like the 4 or 5 times that I've met him prior that he was that maybe it was just a bad day for him, because I didn't get an autograph or anything after the West Ham game, but I went up to him. I said, congratulations on the goals. I'm looking forward to seeing many more. And I shook his hand, and with no issues, he shook my hand and said, "Thanks a lot, mate." I was just like, fair play. It was nice.
I would put a little wetness in there to really seal the handshake, if you know what I mean.
Mate, there was a little bit of wetness as I walked back to the car. But we'll leave that.
There we go.
Was it a moist moment?
I had to adjust myself as I was heading back. It was a bit, very soft hands. Very soft hands.
Lovely. Guys, anything further? Tell us, how was the game? How was Kane at the West Ham game for you guys? What did you see? How did you see it?
Thought he looked like he had fun in the pregame ceremony they did for him. I would like a shirt that says Daddy 267. I think that'd be pretty sweet. Honestly, I'm going to have to agree with Scott. I thought he was decent. Nothing good, nothing bad. He put in a solid shift. Sometimes that's just kind of what you need, is a solid shift from your leader. I do bring up a point to some people. Shout out at whoever the fuck. I think when Kane puts on that captain's armband, he plays differently, maybe more conservatively and less free-flowing, I think. Maybe that's just me and my tinfoil hat. I don't know. But I think when he puts that captain's armband, he seems to me a different guy. Not for the better, I will say.
Okay, but interesting.
But, I mean, for what it's worth, I thought he put in a good shift. Just sometimes I think he disappears when he puts that armband on. So that's what worries me a little bit about him being the captain going forward. Maybe give it to someone.
It's like his mind has got to be elsewhere. It's like
he's like, I gotta be consistent and not too out of.
Spurs are different when he's on the sideline. When he's got that armband on, it's like his head's he's got. It's almost like he's thinking, well, I've got this, I've got that, rather than just focusing on the fact of, do you know what? Let your feet, let the display you put in
Yeah.
show the leader
You got
are.
rockets on the left and the right. You can do damage with them. Why not? And I think whenever he's a little more captain, I just think he's less confident, maybe to do something a little more out of bounds. I think he likes to stay in the lane, get the job done, and do his job rather than do things that make Kane have his moments of brilliance. I mean, if you look at all them goals that he scored for Tottenham, there's a lot of fucking quality in each and every one of them. Whether he was dancing around a keeper, shooting it from distance, doing the Harry Winks pass, if you will, that results in a goal for number 100, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought Kane, fine. He did fine. He did the job.
Exactly.
Excellent. Any further thoughts on Kane?
No.
There we go. Any closing thoughts on the game before we move on?
West Ham get battered everywhere they go. Yeah.
Can I ask? I do want to bring up, because I have seen quite a bit of discord about the whole amount of celebration that was in the stadium after. My personal mindset is, why not celebrate? Life fucking sucks sometimes. Sometimes you need a little rainbow to cheer about and to believe that there's gold at the end. Fuck it. Yeah, it's West Ham. They might get relegated. You could argue they're relegation destined this season, but I don't think they're going to get relegated. But to me, why not celebrate? Fuck them. They're a rival. They talk all that shit.
Jacob, even being on the other side of the pond, you must realise and notice the toxicity of the fan base. We've always got something to moan about, or whether it be digging somebody out because they've taken a video of themselves at the game, whether it be Levy, whether it be, the prices of tickets. There is, and there's always people that won't get on and won't see eye to eye. And in my opinion, sometimes a little bit childishly in the way they handle things. But at the end of the day, this is something that for me has become a regular with Spurs fans. You are always going to have people who bitch and moan about certain things. For me, beating West Ham, it's a London derby, like you said. All right, and considering that those pricks were the first people to beat us at our new stadium, I'm glad that we haven't let them win since. So for me, I love going to West Ham. It's a big game for me. I want to send them back to their caravans, right, crying, right, because it does my tits in. Oh, I do. Same with Chelsea. Same with Arsenal, right? Fulham, it's Fulham. But when you look at the big London clubs, I want us to do them over. And if we jump and celebrate and throw beer all over each other afterwards, then happy days. For me, it's
we'll just end it on this. This is the best way to end it, really. Is this?
You all right, Ben?
1, 2, 3. West Ham get battered everywhere they go. West Ham get battered everywhere they go.
Yeah, Mark, so was I. But do you know what as well, also, with the way Spurs have been playing, you don't know what you're going to get when you go into that stadium. So there's also, I guess, a touch of relief, especially because it's West Ham.
Yeah. I think that's part of it, though. For me, I'm across the pond, but I still see it as celebrate your victories, mourn your losses. And at the end of the day, when that day concludes, you fucking put your head on that pillow and wake up the next day, it's time to think about the next thing. But for that day, you're allowed to fucking celebrate, in my opinion. I'm just going to put this out. I had a problem with people taking the piss out of people enjoying their fucking day. They spent how much on a ticket? One of the most expensive tickets. They spent how many hours in this stadium? They've spent how many times getting depressed about their team? Let them fucking celebrate. Let them be happy.
And it's so easy for football to ruin your weekend as well.
Isn't this part of the whole basically ripping football from our arms? Because football has always been the working man's game, right? It's always been about play, that sense of tribalism, that sense of being part of something bigger than yourself, and it is competition. Shouldn't we be standing up to this a little bit? Shouldn't we be actually, when those hits in the media, and those that want to attack will turn around and basically criticize ordinary people who are celebrating something that is traditionally the way that they've celebrated. Isn't it time for us to stand up and say, do you know what? Fuck you. This is our game. We're not going to let you dictate to us how we celebrate our game.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Rez. That's what I don't understand. It's like, so am I not supposed to celebrate that fucking Son came on and scored? Am I not supposed to celebrate that Emerson Royale scored? Because if I can't celebrate a victory, why would I celebrate the goals? To me, it just doesn't make sense. The argument of like, it just, to me, just sounds like a fucking, like you said, Gareth, a reason to not be happy this week, a reason to bitch about something. And to me, honestly, long may the party reign. I hope all them people singing West Ham get battered. I hope they went on, had a great night, had the shag of their fucking life, and they fucking woke up the next morning like that was a good day. Let's go do the same to fucking Chelsea, because that's how I felt about it. And to me,
Monday's a different. The sky's a different shade of blue after a good weekend in the Tottenham.
Exactly.
Sorry,
you got a little more spring in your step. You got a little bit more swagger to you. So I don't know.
Right.
That's the way I feel about it. Let them celebrate, man. Life's hard enough. Have a good fucking time at the end of the day. That's why we're here.
No, I totally agree with you on that one, mate.
Who are these people? Who are these people to tell us how we should or shouldn't celebrate? Really, who the fuck are these people?
And this is what I mean about the toxicity of the fan base. It's just because they see it as over the top, or you know, that duo Max or whatever, he recorded himself at the game. I put a retweet out saying, do you know what? My thing is meeting ex-players, you know, Coity's half-timers, and if I can meet a starter, you know, for the squad, then happy days. You know, that's my thing. He wants to record himself. Do you know what? Keep going, Max. Do your thing, bruv. It's fine. Just quickly to answer Sophie's question. So, yes, I'm Levy out. I've always said Levy needs credit for the way that he has financially run the club, right? We are a club that is never going to be in danger on a financial level. But the reason I'm Levy out is because he hasn't invested in the squad properly. You know, when we reached the Champions League final, when we had Pochettino and we nearly won the league, you know, he hasn't invested in that squad. He's a bargain basement rummager. And it winds me up. Sometimes we get the odd gem, sometimes we don't. So that's why I'm Levy out. But the reason why I still go to matches is because I support my club. My club isn't Daniel Levy. My club is the 11 players on the pitch, the guys on the subs bench, and the managerial team in the dugout. And that's why I go to it, because Tottenham, I look at them as a team. It's not, well, fuck Levy. I don't spend anything in the club shop. Right? At most, and it depends when I get there all the time, I might have a cup of tea. That will be it. I will buy a cup of tea, right? I spend nothing in the club shop. I don't buy a program. I don't buy any of the merchandise, okay? You know, my shirt, I said I got signed from Bournemouth. It's a replica, cost me 25 quid, you know, and yet look at it. Once that's framed up, you're never going to know the difference. You know, it is a signed Tottenham shirt, right? So that's how I deal with it. I won't put money into the club. The only time that I've put any money into that club this season was at the Portsmouth game. And that's because my children went. I went down with my wife and my kids. And my kids had money in their bank accounts. You know, they'd saved their pocket money. They had a little bit left over from Christmas. They had £50 each, right? And they wanted, now my son bought the yellow Getir training top, right? I love that top. But out of principle, I won't buy it. But you know what? That was his money. He wanted to buy it. I'm not going to say to him, no, mate, don't give Levy your money. He's there to enjoy his day at football. My daughter, you know, bought the dressing gown, bought a T-shirt, bought a teddy bear. That was her 50 quid gone. And that was part of, that's her day. It's making memories with my kids, right? So as much as I begrudge it, you know, being me, bottom line, my kids had it. And this is the problem where Levy is never going to lose. As long as we've still got South Koreans coming over to see Son, right? As long as we are still a huge tourist attraction, because we are a big football club. We have one of the best stadiums in the world. We are always going to have tourists. We are always going to have tourists in that club shop buying shirts. We're going to have the South Korean brigade buying sunscreens, buying flags, buying scarves. Right? Levy is never going to lose. It's so, you know, as much as I respect the protesters doing their thing down the training ground and doing their bit at outside the ground, you know, I went and stood with them for a little bit when they did the last protest at the ground. But because I was with a mate of mine, you know, we had to go off and do some other bits. You know, for me, my protest is I won't put any more money into that club than I have to, but I will buy a ticket or I will, spend whatever to go watch them in petrol and trains or whatever, because I love my club. I love the players on the pitch. I love the shirt, and they're who I'm supporting. I'm not supporting Levy.
Fair enough. Cool. So on to the sour note that occurred after the game. Well, apparently happened during the game. Sonny receiving more racist abuse online. The club have issued a statement. And this is something that I do want to address. Now, personally speaking, and I'd appreciate your thoughts on this, gents, I believe that what is being called for by the likes of the club and the league and that lot who have made these comments is essentially looking to censor people. I don't, as it's been very obviously on this show, I have no truck with any kind of discrimination. I've fought against it all my life. I am a staunch defender of the rights of everyone to be treated as an equal human being. But alongside that is the idea that if you are to be treated equally, that means that you have the right to say what you want. I will criticize someone who is a racist for the things they say, but I will not stifle them. Are we in danger of going down a path where, because we don't like what is being said, we are going to stop people from talking? And what did you think about those? What are your views on racial abuse of players?
Well, real quick, Rez, I want to ask you, what was the stifling of the? Where does that come into play?
Haven't, but what they are saying is that basically what Twitter and the social media and that lot saying, or what is being said to them, is that they should not even allow a person to post something that might be discriminatory. Look, I understand the impulse, right? The idea is that hate speech can cause damage. I agree, it does. I've got no objection to that. The problem is not about blocking stuff like hate speech. It's the problem of, if today we block things that are quite categorically hateful, tomorrow that gives us the excuse to block something that is just objectionable. And then the day
we're sailing a very fine line, and we have done since the George Floyd incident, right? I think that, but also as well, for whatever reason, okay, and I'm going to use the term snowflake, right? We have a very woke snowflake current going through people of a certain age at the moment. Now, I'll be perfect. I'm not racist. I don't use any kind of racial slurs. The only very slight caveat I'll put on that is, me and you, we have a certain kind of relationship, and we know between each other there are certain things that I can say and you can say where we know between us, it's not like done on here, but when it's the two of us, right?
Yeah.
But that's between me and you. That's a private thing. That is a understanding that we have as two grown adults. Same with Bobby K. Same, my relationship the same with Bobby K. He will throw white slurs at me, and I will retaliate with a couple. But that's the relationship that me and Bobby have, right?
Yep.
I don't go out shouting it from the terraces, to I don't know, a black player for West Ham, an Asian player for Frankfurt. But also at the same time, something that I don't know if any of you guys will be able to relate to, but how many of you guys are visual people? How many of you guys drive in your car, somebody cuts you up, or somebody's dawdling, and all of a sudden it's, you stupid old bastard, or fuck me, you fat cunt, or you because you're being ageist or fattest or whatever else. The problem is human beings are very visual people, and sometimes you will look at the obvious in front of you. And I think that and this is where I think there is a very subconscious level to it as well, because you know, a person will go, you know, let's say, you know, Antonio, you know, all of a sudden a Spurs fan goes, "You diving bastard," yeah, not because he's racist, but it's visual, you know. But also, I used the term earlier, pikey, right? Seen as a derogatory term, right? But it's an obvious association with West Ham. I believe people are entitled to be offended. I believe people are entitled to have free speech. The problem is how you deal with it, and this is where we are kind of hovering this very dangerous area of what you can and can't do, and what is going to be, because you've also got to remember, people go on about institutionalized racism. Now, I would probably say three of the four of us are part of a generation where we had grandparents who would use certain turns of phrase that were normal for them, or make certain comments without battering an eyelid because for them it was normal. We're a little bit more aware, and we know it's not normal, or we know it's not entirely right. But when your granddad said it, you'd giggle a little bit, or you might have even said it with him in the privacy of your own living room. You know, it's this fine line of how you deal with it on a public domain. You know, people go on about free speech, but sadly, free speech is slowly becoming a very tight and unmaneuverable space.
That's the thing I'm concerned with. The thing you got to bear in mind, I'm the son of immigrants, right? I was born in this country, raised and educated in this country. I consider myself British, but I also consider myself Iranian, and I've been subjected to racism.
Sorry, I'm going to give you a prime example of your Bobby K. Good to see you, mate. You got time away from the slop.
Yeah, but the thing for me here is, again, very much along the lines of being told how we are allowed to celebrate and what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. Is this not further stifling of people, which is itself a dangerous path? Now, a lot of people have been screaming and shouting, for instance, about Elon Musk on Twitter. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Elon Musk is a complete bellend, right?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if I saw him about to fall off a cliff, I wouldn't run to save him, right? He's a shithead, and I hate everything he stands for. But if he wants to talk bollocks, I've got no issue with that, because if someone stops him talking bollocks today, they'll stop me talking what they consider bollocks tomorrow. And this is the thing that worries me, is that we are being pushed into a path of acceptability. For me, it's not acceptable to racially abuse anyone. I really don't think it is, okay? And
this goes to Sophie's comment. No, I'm not saying it's acceptable, Sophie. None of us are saying it's acceptable.
No.
And education is the key. But the problem you've got is, right, especially with older generations, this is something that will phase itself out. It's not something that you can slap a huge metal door in front of and go, right, it stops now. And this is what I don't think people either understand, or they're not seeing the wood for the trees. You are not going to stop something that somebody has grown up with for their whole lives. You know, there's 60-year-old men at the football that grew up with this kind of thing, and it was acceptable. They know it's not right, and they might still do it. Like I said, there's me and Rez in the privacy. You know, the comment I just made to Bobby K. People might not see that as right, but that's the relationship me and Bobby have got. We have that understanding. But this is something that that needs to be phased out through education, rather than, no, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and you've got to do it fucking now. That's what I think.
Well, here's the thing. If I can chime in from a little bit of a younger perspective, I do see it as a generational thing. Things that were acceptable when I was a kid in the 90s is no longer acceptable. There was games we played that mocked an entire culture of people. So just because it's done and it's tradition and this guy's done it for 60 years doesn't mean it's fucking right. If a guy's a predator on children, that doesn't mean it's fucking right. And I'm gonna say this: I think it's a little bit of a trickle down effect that we're seeing, because what you're seeing is a turn of the page, a turn of what people will take acceptable, and after years of it not making people feel good, now they're saying this is what I think is acceptable. You don't, the hate that people have gotten for the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, to me it baffles me. My first best friend was an Indian. I never thought twice about it. I just knew that his food was different and tasted fucking great, and take your shoes off at the door, which I now do as an adult. So to me, it's strange when it's, I understand Gareth's point of it, right? You and Bobby are friends. Y'all have an understanding. But that's a little bit different than some guy who doesn't know Sonny saying things about his culture, putting videos of other Asians being attacked. I tweeted this. There was something that I tweeted that it was someone who tweeted, okay, this is Sonny after the game, and it was an Asian man getting fucking stomped in the face. And that's not okay. Do we need to stifle that? Yes, because that's hurtful, not only to Son, but to people who look like Son, to people who are friends with Son.
Sophie's just amplified my point with what she says about her dad. You are educating your dad, but it isn't necessarily going to change how your dad is. But when your dad goes, you are then the next generation from your dad's generation who goes into
the question here.
When do we get so deep, man?
No, let me make this point. Hold on, I need to make this point. The question here is this: is it right to basically set limits on freedom of speech? And how do you prevent those limits from creeping from stuff that is outright hateful to then just objectionable? So, for instance, today you say you are not allowed to use certain terms, certain racist terms. Fine, I can understand that. I don't use them. I never would, because I don't believe in them, right? It's not my philosophy. But then tomorrow they say, oh, well, you can't call for poor people to be helped because that's offensive to someone. That's offensive to the rich, for instance. And today the rich are not a protected characteristic, but tomorrow they might be. We might end up in a place where we have.
I would say they have been since the dawn of time. So now it's starting to shift where there's more people who are unaccepting of that because they're not the rich who get fucking catered to and their asses kissed.
That's the point. This is the point. If you say that offense is in the eye of the beholder, which that is the legal definition in this country, at what point do we say, well, everything is offensive? Isn't it a point that we should be standing up and saying, we don't agree with racism, we will fight against it, we will educate people who are, but we will not allow our freedom of speech to be impinged?
But I think there's the line of free speech and then hate speech can be thin with some. And I think that's when you start playing a dangerous game, right? It's like you want to lower the crime rate, make crime legal. And you won't have any fucking crime. But does that mean that that's the right choice? I don't know. I don't think so.
It's part of the problem, the fact that people get offended too much for other people. So, like I just said there, me and Bobby, and you see his response, me and Bobby have this relationship. We know exactly what we can and what we can't do. He will give it to me as much as I will give it to him. It's between me and him. And just so you know, Paddy, they're my money makers. They're not your boys. So fuck off. Right. I've still got a nice warm cellar for them. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, we have this relationship, but somebody over here in mine and here. So we'll say just Sophie, I'm going to use you as an example with some of the comments you made. I'm not saying you get offended, but your name's there. Right. Sophie hears me turn around to Bobby and be like, oh, have you got you got the boys stocking out the shelves and stuff ready for you to get back to Canada, like when he was over with the boys. But now Bobby's going to piss himself laughing. He's going to call me a cunt, right? And we're going to enjoy a good game of football. But all of a sudden, Sophie's gone, oh my God, you can't say that. Look at the colour of his skin. My God, you can't say that to him. Oh my God. Whereas surely it should be determined by the person it is directed at. If people, do you get where I'm going with this? Let the person who's had the comment made to him be the one. And it's all well and good turning around to people going, that was a bit out of order, mate. Are you okay?
But if Sophie's the same ethnicity as Nick or Bobby, she's the same ethnicity but doesn't have the same relationship with you that they do, where you can say and joke about those kind of things. It's just a matter of she doesn't feel comfortable. There's things that people say that I've been like, hey, as a friend, I take offense to that word. Please don't use it. And
there is a big
and when you
difference
say that,
between-
it's interesting the kinds of
there is a big
responses you get.
difference. Yeah, it's a big difference though saying, mate, you want to watch what you're saying, because I don't even like that word, to, oh my God, let's get up in arms, let's protest, let's create, you know, big organizations, let's do this, because I'm offended for that one poor boy over there who got called the P word playing football, you know, for the under 12s in, you know, in a part of England that I didn't even know existed.
Well,
But that's I just think that that's a little bit of the white knight syndrome, and I think that some people play into that, like, I'm going to be offended for this group of people because they have been oppressed. And I think that and I know this isn't football talk at all, but I just, you know, from an American standpoint, the shift that has been, honestly, I think it's for the better, and it has been met with aggression. We've seen tons of gun violence versus tons of different groups, different religion practices, different beliefs. I mean, the thing is I think it's just I think it's a generational thing, and I do agree with the side of, like, you shouldn't fight a battle for someone else, but if I'm, as my individual self, offended by it, if you're allowed to say some nasty shit, I should be allowed to say I'm offended by that. It's the same.
You are allowed to say that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying that's exactly what I'm saying, is that people should be allowed to say what they want. Live with the consequences. If someone is offended by what you say, the person who is offended has every right to criticize you for it, has every right to argue with you, to confront you with it. I'm just saying that person should still be allowed to say what they want to say, hateful though it might be. I'm not afraid of someone saying something that is racist to me. That's my view, right? And this is the point. You can't turn around and say this is universally offensive to everyone. So you can't then turn around and say this is no longer, you cannot do this, because there's no such thing as universal offense. We did a show on.
Let me say, if a whole sect of people say this is a word we do not like, this is offensive.
Yeah.
Then at what point do we say this is not allowed? Because literally everyone from that side of it has said that they don't appreciate
Bill
that.
said it earlier. You know, evolutionary versus revolutionary.
It will never happen. You will never have a situation.
I'm offended by the intelligence of this conversation and the way that it's gone. If I'm honest, this is far too intelligent.
That's fair enough.
You didn't know I was this intellectual, did you?
Anyway,
you're not intellectual. It's that bullshit. You just fucking. I don't know what's happened. Literally, I don't know what's happened. This is like my head's spinning. I feel like I should have gone to sleep.
Food for thought, gentlemen.
There you go, back to normal.
Yeah.
Where's that Gareth Pack? That fucking loudmouth prick. Where's he gone?
You're all a bunch of cunts. So we'll take it from there. On to our next little section. Rez's rant. I'm going to do it really quickly, right?
Last 2 hours.
My rant today is fuck you, Islington Council, right? Yeah. Last year, my parking, right, to park my car cost £35. When I renew this year, I'll throw it open. Nick knows because I told him about it. Gareth and Jacob, £35 this year. How much do I have to pay when I renew my parking later this year? Have a guess.
135.
No.
450.
No, but that extreme amount is actually closer to the real amount than the £35. I will have to pay this year, when I renew my parking, £235.
235. You said 135.
Because I went back and checked something else, and I found that there's an additional £100 I've got to pay.
What are they basing that on? Is that like an emissions charge? Is that an engine size charge?
Nothing. They've just increased the levels.
Right, because believe it or not, mate, you've got it easy in comparison. So in Dagenham, right, if you want to have a parking place, you get charged by the engine size.
Yeah, so do I. By emissions charges. That's the point. This year, it's the same car. This year, the engine emissions, it cost me £35.
$1
Next year,
million.
£135. And then on top of that, because there are 2 cars in the household, I get charged another £100 as well.
You didn't know it's
And
just
so
a fuck you fee?
car, right? So that's an increase of 671%. But anyway, that's my rant for this week.
Before we wrap up,
I'd give you a tissue if I had one, but
I know.
before we wrap up, I'm going to have my quick rant, and then we're going to
Go on.
wrap up, because we've been going 2 hours, and we've talked far too much fucking football for my liking. And it's a good job Rez isn't here next week, because I'm going to fucking just go into nonsense next week. Anyway,
Good.
my rant is people who put their fucking seats back on a plane are fucking inconsiderate arseholes, right? There's not enough fucking room anyway, but you decide you're going to recline your fucking chair 2 centimeters because you just want a little bit more room.
do you know what, Nick? Can I just say, a man of my build doesn't have that problem.
I don't put my seat back. I'm just saying, you fucking fattest.
Are you being fattest?
Are you being
Oh
fucking
no! I hope I
body
haven't
shaming?
offended anybody in the chat. Sophie,
Not
please
only,
don't be
not
listening.
only, right, and the next bit of the rant, not only does this prick in the bottom left-hand corner sit there, and obviously if it's turned the other way around, I don't mean Jacob, not only does he sit there calling me a fat cunt because I was dawdling on the road,
I never
now
called
he's
you.
saying that he doesn't have the same problem on a plane. Well,
I never called you a fat cunt.
motherfucker.
Barry, I feel your pain. I'm 6'4", so anytime I fly economy, it's hell. And the way I see it is, if you're gonna lean your seat back, you're gonna get fucking kneed. Your shit's not gonna be comfortable. It's gonna be a rocky ride for you, my friend. And when you turn around, can you not? You know what I'm gonna say? Sorry, my 3 legs need room to breathe, baby.
Anyway, so gentlemen, let's go round. Gareth, you're up first. Make it quick, sharp, and beautiful. Chelsea score prediction.
2-1 Tottenham.
Jacob,
3-1 Tottenham.
Barry, Nick, Sean, Davis, Ranjit,
Sean Butler.
Montague.
1-0 Spurs, Emerson Royale masterclass again.
Ooh.
Fantastic. I'm going to go with 4-0 Spurs, and we love it. So that is our show. We've had football, we've had serious philosophy, we've had all sorts of different things. Thank you to our guests. So let's go around. Gareth, where can we find you next?
At Tottenham on Sunday.
Fantastic. So
mate, to be
if you
fair,
see him,
it's that Mac 1882, and you'll probably find me hoying myself on Tommy's show or back here if I'm asked, and wherever else they slip me in.
fantastic stuff. Jacob, where can we find you?
United Spurs of America on YouTube. We are on our way to 1K, 900 something at this point. So we're coming up on it. Yeah. So make sure to get your burners out. I know how everyone has like 6 different accounts. Go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe.
Absolutely.
Over at United Spurs of America, at Spurs of A on Twitter if you want to holler at me there. You can usually catch me talking some kind of bullshit there, but
63 away, people. Come on.
Come on, chaps. Get over there and do the business. Do the business. Barry, how many watch-alongs are you doing this week?
I'm doing no watch-alongs. I'm not going to the game. Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm not doing. Yeah, I'm not doing.
What happened there?
I'm not doing the game. I'm going to relax. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch it in my pants.
there you go.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff.
That's a
I
mental
will
image
not.
you don't need.
I will not be here next week, so you will be in the hands of Nick all show long because I have places to be, unfortunately. So you will not see me for a couple of weeks.
I might blog
But
something.
a big up to everyone in the chat, and we're going to go through and say, and thank you for joining us. Please do like, subscribe, and comment. So a big up to Eugene, Mark Cousins, Phil Baby, Chris Agambar, Andrew Gregory, Stuart, Sophie, Tony Rodriguez, Lisa, Step Up Spurs, Welshie, Mark Swift, Paddy Hartnett, Elias Christian, Scott M, Bryce, Daniel Sandoval, The Angry Cock, Danny Hasper, Bill, Mile High Hosper, Alexander Hill, and Ryan Isaacs, Ben Kaufman, Bobby K, and Roy. Big up to you. Thank you for joining us. Do please tune in next week at 7:30 on a Thursday for more frivolity, frolics, and fucking around. I've been Rez. Thank you for joining us. And as always, please like, subscribe, and comment. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.